Wait, you hear that? It's the winds of change blowing across the plains in Auburn, Alabama. Hugh Freeze and the recruiting machine over there at Auburn have things rolling. And today on Southeastern 14, we're going to break it all down as it is FLIPMAS in July at Auburn. Hello, everyone. I'm Blayne Gilmer. Welcome to Southeastern 14, the channel that covers everything SEC football, basketball, baseball, daily coverage. We've just passed 9,000 subs here on the YouTube channel. Thank you for all your support. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. That helps us out a lot. It's totally free to you, helps us out. And then, of course, leave your comments. We want to know what you're thinking about the content as well. Give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Turn on that notification bell so that you can join us for live streams and everything else here on Southeastern 14. So Auburn, a huge week in recruiting last week, capped by a big weekend in recruiting with Big Cat Weekend. Guys, it's been a while since there's been this kind of juice over at Auburn when it comes to recruiting. They've done some decent things. We see right there, Peyton Thorne, people like that, people coming in the transfer portal. But in terms of high school recruiting, there is a change going about. Auburn football is doing some things here recently that they have not done in quite a while, and that's thanks to Hugh Freeze. There's 14 commitments right now in Auburn's class of 2024. 10 of those commitments are from inside the state of Alabama. To tell you why that is a big deal, over Auburn's last 3 recruiting classes, 16 total from the state of Alabama. That is a direct indictment on how little faith the state of Alabama had in Brian Harsin and Brian Harsin's staff, how terrible the relationships were at the high school level, and how quickly that Hugh Freeze has been able to come in and establish those relationships with those high school coaches, with trainers inside the state of Alabama, with the influencers, if you will, that are all involved in these high profile recruitments that you have to be connected with. Listen, every single program is saying the same thing in recruiting. A little secret there. Everybody's talking about family. Everybody's talking about culture. Everybody's talking about how you're going to get great education. Everybody's selling that they're going to develop you into the best player. Everybody's selling an opportunity to go to the NFL. If you're in the SEC, everybody's talking about tremendous facilities because they all have tremendous facilities. Auburn right now is invested in even more great facilities there. But there's a difference when it's coming from someone like Brian Harsin, who did not fit in that program, who they just did not genuinely believe and maybe didn't put in the amount of effort that Hugh Freeze is putting in. Hugh Freeze treats recruiting similar to how Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, others in the SEC that are recruiting well, even Billy Napier. Billy Napier's not had the success on the field, but man, he's racking it up in recruiting right now. With you look across any recruiting service ranking in Florida, is going to be inside the top 5 right now. When you look at it with Hugh Freeze, he is engaged in these recruitments. He basically becomes a co-main recruiter of these guys, being on the phone with them, with their parents, checking in with their high school coaches, just little things that Hugh Freeze is doing that makes the difference. Now, when it comes to things that are being said, like I said, there is no secrets in recruiting. Everybody's telling you the same thing, okay? But you have some people like Brian Harsin who came across a little bit more abrasive, wasn't relatable, didn't get people to kind of let their guards down, versus Hugh Freeze is able to. When he comes in, he's charismatic. He knows how to work a room. He knows what the person that he is talking to at that moment in time, he knows how to make them feel important. And if you can do that, there's just a difference in some people. Brian Harsin as a salesman, that's because at the end of the day, that is what it is. It is sales. You're trying to sell your program. Brian Harsin couldn't sell a glass of water to somebody, thirsting to death in the desert. But, you come along and here's Hugh Freeze. He could sell ketchup popsicles to a woman in white gloves. I mean, there's some people just have the gift of it, and Hugh Freeze does. Now, let's get into the specifics of it. Where did this start? I think this started day one when Hugh Freeze retained Cadillac Williams and made a point to show everybody there was alignment in that Auburn program from top to bottom. Desperation at Auburn to be really good, in the comparisons against their rivals of Georgia and Alabama forced people who a lot of times stepped out of line there at Auburn. Maybe the boosters went rogue, did different things, stuff like that. It said, hey, how can we get everybody on this same page here? And that's from the collective. You see the On to Victory collective there on the background behind Hugh Freeze and Cadillac Williams there. So from the collective to the coaches to the influential boosters, everybody is connected right now at Auburn, and they're doing what they need to do to get the job done. So how has this momentum specifically built up over the last month and a half? We started with Joseph Phillips. Joseph Phillips was all but committed to the University of Georgia. He was also heavily involved with Tennessee. Even Alabama was in the mix. Auburn had kind of fallen off, and then here comes about a week before his commitment gets set, and all of a sudden Auburn comes back into the lead and ends up getting his commitment. He stays home from Tuskegee, Alabama, a big-time pickup. 4-star linebacker across the board. He's going to be a guy that, listen, everybody thought he was going to Georgia. He thought he was going to Georgia. Auburn comes in and gets things done. And let's talk about it. Everybody's talking about money. Yes, Auburn is utilizing money in their collective to make sure these kids know that they're going to be taken care of. But guess what? Every school is at this point. There is no, nobody's cheating, nobody's doing stuff like that. It is, here is what the collective at Auburn and these boosters are willing to do for you when you get on campus. Here's what this package looks like and things like that. That is what everybody is able to do right now. So let's just call that a moot point as it is right now, because Auburn's utilizing the same tactics that everyone else is when it comes to that front. So Joseph Phillips staying home was a big deal. Then the real first seismic shift in how Auburn recruiting is doing came. Demarcus Riddick, who had been committed to Georgia for a year, ends up flipping 5-star. When you look across different recruiting services, he's listed as a 5-star inside linebacker. Big deal, because Auburn hasn't signed a 5-star anything since 2019 Bo Nix. Okay, they were this close to getting George Pickens. Georgia ripped him out under their nose, but they still got Bo Nix in that class in 2019. Now Demarcus Riddick, guy from Clanton, Alabama, again, staying in state, not going to Alabama, going to Auburn. That's huge. He's a guy. And then when he was committed to your partner in the Deep South's oldest rivalry there, Georgia, that's an even bigger deal for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. But he wouldn't be the only one. Then shortly after, Malcolm Simmons comes in. He's a guy that was heavily recruited elsewhere, 4-star athlete. He's going to play wide receiver. Auburn needs talented wide receivers, an influx of talent at that position. He commits, and then the commitment that really shook everybody this past weekend in terms of people saw it coming, but the fact that Auburn takes Perry Thompson, who's a 5-star wide receiver, something that Auburn hasn't signed since 2002, and flips him from Alabama after he'd been committed to Alabama for 13 months. That is huge. It doesn't get any bigger for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. So, guys, what I'm telling you here is it's palpable. You can feel the momentum going with Auburn. Now, they still have to go out and prove things on the field this fall, because you can lose momentum. when you have guys committed and things like that. See Florida last year. That class was rocking and rolling in the summer, and then it fell apart a little bit towards the end of the season last year with their losses stacking up on them. So they have to take care of business on the field. But Hugh Freeze is bringing in guys that Brian Harsin and company wouldn't have been able to bring in, even to entertain for recruiting in the last couple of classes. KJ Bolden from Georgia, Buford High School. He's set to make a decision this upcoming week on August 5th. He was at Auburn on Big Cat weekend. He was there. Nye Carr, a Georgia commit, was there at Big Cat weekend. Don't know if either of those guys end up at Auburn, but it's huge that they were there, saw that momentum. It would Perry Thompson committing, things like that, flipping from Alabama. That's huge for Hugh Freeze and this Auburn recruiting effort, because these kids, they talk to one another. These prospects, they say, hey, what'd you think of Big Cat weekend? This was awesome. When I saw this, here's what I liked about this. Here's what I didn't like. All these guys talk with each other. Deandre Carter, a big-time offensive lineman from Modern Day High School out there. Word is that Auburn really moved the needle there, and he's one of the better ones. They've got Brandon Baker out there at Modern Day, who everybody's recruiting after. But I think DeAndre Carter may be the better of the two, and Auburn has a real shot at landing him after Big Cat weekend this weekend. If Hugh Freeze gets DeAndre Carter, if he were to get a KJ Bolden, you could legitimately see Auburn getting up into that top tier of recruiting this class in Hugh Freeze's first class and get towards a top five recruiting class level. That would be monstrous. And if they're able to back it up on the field with a little bit of momentum, Hugh Freeze will have established himself and Auburn as a threat going forward, because they will have the pieces. You know, you gotta have the pieces. You gotta have the ingredients to make a gourmet meal. And Hugh Freeze is going to, he's not going down to Walmart and getting the ingredients. Okay. He's going to Whole Foods. He's going to a gourmet spice shop. He's getting different things here that are going to make the meal fantastic at the end of the day. And Hugh Freeze is exactly what Auburn needed after the debacle that was Brian Harsin. Now, can everything stay between the buoys? Can everything stay, okay, this is about football, and, you know, not have anything from his past or anything like that creep up outside? You always got to make sure that you're taking care, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But Auburn fans should be excited about what's going on with Hugh Freeze and Auburn recruiting right now. Guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're going to be covering more about the developments, giving our thoughts on recruiting going forward. We're also covering everything when it comes to game previews. Those are going to be going out week 0, and week 1 game previews and predictions going out here soon. We've got team coverage for every SEC team. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And we just want to hear back from you. Leave your comments and join us for live streams. When we go live, we'll tell you about those. Follow us on Twitter at 14 Southeastern. You can follow me on Twitter using at @BGilmer18. Hope you guys enjoyed the Auburn recruiting talk, and we'll catch you next time here to talk SEC football on Southeastern 14.